Well, the death penalty. Basically, I'm not very much in favor of the death penalty. But I have to tell you, I will make certain exceptions under certain circumstances. And it can't be just personal circumstances out of revenge or whatever. I believe that if somebody poses a continuous danger to larger society, such as convicted criminals with repeat offenses, violent offenses against others, and that includes some politicians as well, in other words, mass murderers, then I would probably be in favor of the death penalty. You know, I'm very lenient in that regard. I want to have absolute proof before someone is sent to the gallows or gas chamber, so to say, that this person is truly guilty of the crimes that they were accused of. And in many cases in the American justice system today, that is not actually true. Many people have been convicted on false evidence. All you have to look at is the prison population in the United States, which is basically exploding compared to any other civilized nation. And you know that there's something going on in the justice system where people were not adequately represented. So I would say some exceptions should be made in favor of the death penalty, but I'm essentially opposed to it unless it involves clearly proven crimes, repeated crimes, and if that person still poses an imminent danger to society. The war against Iraq was another question. Well, of course, you know, I was against the war in Iraq from the very beginning. I'm not one of those people who changed their minds later as the war was not going well. I was very much against it from the very beginning. I was very outspoken against it. I went to demonstrations, which of course didn't do any good, and so on. And I'm very much against it now. I want our veterans and our soldiers to come home. They're fighting for an elite type of mindset who has only one thing in mind, namely the securing of oil in the Middle East and unfettered imperialism in that part of the world, which is only going to cause more backlash against us. And so I'm against the Iraq war. I want the troops to be pulled out as soon as possible. I am also very much against a future war taking place in Iran, and more on that later, of course. But yes, I'm against the war in Iraq. Affirmative action. Affirmative action has caused a little bit of trouble for me in my academic setting when I was still teaching about 10 years ago, but it's not a personal problem. Affirmative action is basically still needed because most of us white folks don't realize what the disadvantage is for those who have been disadvantaged over the last 100 years or so to even get into the whole system. And even though I would say that I don't really agree with quotas and so on, it was very much necessary to equal the playing field, and it is still now necessary to equal the playing field to some degree, as long as some of the standards at the so-called higher institutions of learning aren't lowered to a degree to which the mass media has now signed on to. So no, of course not. That's not going to be in anyone's interest. But I believe that there should be equal opportunity, and that some things need to be set straight. And even though, you know, some of us more privileged people are going to be losing out in that process, it is, in the long run, it equals the playing field. And it's probably a good thing if that is to continue for a while, without a blatant favoritism on either side. So I'm still in favor of affirmative action as long as it is done in a reasonable way, and as long as it doesn't dumb down the entire educational system. So yes, I'm in favor of it. Teaching evolution and creationism. Well, that's going to be a third video, I can already tell, because it's going on too long.